All right, I try not to usually address any of the plethora of ridiculous bullshit videos other people make, but in this instance, and this is the only time I'm going to do it, I'm trying to refrain from doing any kind of thing like that and be over critical of other people's postings because it just doesn't look good on me. I don't like it. It's not what I'm about. But a calorie is not a calorie. And here's the first clue you should gather from anybody that continues to try and beat down your throat a calorie is a calorie. First thing you need to do is look at their physique. What are they about? Okay? If they're on a YouTube fitness-oriented type of channel, trying to spout advice to you about how to be in shape or lift weights or anything else, first and foremost, if they can't successfully apply this knowledge that they're trying to share with you to their own physique, I'm not putting anybody down, but I'm saying that's probably not the guy whose advice I would follow, unless that's what you want to fucking look like. Anyway, there's a little thing called SDA, and that is specific dynamic action. It's also known as TEF, which is thermic effect of food. Or you can call it, like I call it, DIT, dietary induced thermogenesis. Now, what is it? Well, I'm just going to give you a very brief, I'll give you a piece of what Wikipedia says about it, because I've already got many videos thoroughly covering it, referencing science and the all-worshipped studies and things, which we realize, right, that almost a large majority of all the studies and the conclusions they gather in these studies today, 10 years from now will be obsolete, right? You do realize that, correct? So you want to follow along with everything somebody tries to quote you from a study, which they are probably not qualified to interpret, and certainly from their appearance they cannot apply it. Then you go ahead and follow that, and you flounder around for 10 years when you could be building a hell of a physique in the course of 10 years. This is mostly, to some extent, a fitness-oriented category of channel here, correct? Okay, so it's not like I'm pointing out people that are not supposedly fitness-oriented, all right? So here's what Wikipedia has to say about it. The energy required for digestion, absorption, and disposal of ingested nutrients depends upon the composition of the food. That's the beginning and the end to that debate. That's right there. A calorie is not a calorie, okay? Now, if you make the disclaimer that it's when you're in a caloric deficit, well, let me tell you something. If you're still putting yourself in a caloric deficit as someone that's interested in the progression of your physique, you know, like you've built some muscle, hopefully, now you want to shed some fat, why would you be in a caloric deficit? Why would you do that? So how else are you going to lose body fat and retain the majority, if not all, of your muscle, and maybe even achieve the cherished gain, a little bit of muscle as you diet down? Think that can't happen? Oh, it's a reality, okay? Do you know any actual professional bodybuilders? Do you know any of these people personally? I do. But I still knew how to diet like this before I knew any of these guys. And guess what? They all diet like this. They all diet like this. You know why they all diet like this? Because they can't afford not to. Every ounce of muscle is precious. Am I telling you to do what they do? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. If you consider the overall entirety of what they do, I don't do that. It wouldn't be healthy for me. It's not practical for me. It's not my, source of income. However, if you do take your clues and your cues from people that can achieve an extreme amount of physical conditioning, an extreme amount of fat loss and muscle retention, if you take your cues from somebody like that rather than somebody that It looks like they don't even really know what the word diet means, much less are able to apply it. If you take your cues from what the professional bodybuilders are doing, they get in the most drastic of conditioning. Okay, so even if you take pieces of it, you know, just the framework of some of it, discluding any kind of unnatural substances, you're going to come out ahead. Just a little obvious, over-obvious information there in case you never thought of that. But let me continue with Wikipedia here. Wikipedia says that carbohydrates, they require they can burn up 5 to 15% of their energy consumed. That's how much of the caloric value of the food can be expended just at the consumption, digestion, and disposal of the food. So with carbs, you're talking about 15 to 5%. I kind of disagree with that number. I think that it's not, it's closer to 10 to, I don't know, 17, 18%, but that's just nitpicking. It's definitely not 5%. Protein, 20 to 35%, completely agree with that. If not, in ideal conditions, a little bit higher. Fats, they claim 5 to 15%. I disagree with that. I'm going to say it's a little high. I think that fats require so little. And if you go and do your own research, you'll see where I'm coming to these conclusions from. And I'm also basing it on all the diets that I do for people that involve dietary thermogenesis. All the diets. And this is over years and years. People have just helped out on my own accord, and people who have, you know, paid me to help them out. So it doesn't have anything to do with money. It's still the same diet. It's still the same approach. Why dietary thermogenesis? Yeah, if you reduce calories, if you want to go into a caloric deficit, it will work. But what are you going to look like at the end of it? You're going to drop body fat. Now, if you're really, you know, overweight person, and that's what you're concerned about, that will work. That will work like gangbusters. I've known people to do that and lose well over 100 pounds in a year. But unfailingly, it leaves the person not in the best condition afterwards. Are they going to be healthier, dropping all that fat? Yeah, it's going to lead them down a healthier road, of course. Are they going to be happier? Yes. Are they going to feel better? Yes. But sooner or later, once the shine kind of, you know, settles in to their new body appearance, they're going to realize they're going to want more. Well, now I got to try and shape this stuff up. Now I got to try and tighten up, harden up, etc., etc. Whereas with dietary induced thermogenesis, that's not a problem when you get done. And it goes on to say, raw celery, like I completely always recommend, and grapefruit are often claimed to have negative caloric balance, requiring more energy to digest than recovered from the food. And then it goes on to say that hasn't been completely proven. You know, there's indications both ways, or that it's true, that it's not true. And I could go on. And there's tons of studies and shit I can quote, but you can find in other videos I've done. It's early in the morning. I'm not going to keep reiterating the same old thing over and over, but we have people on this channel that will testify whose diets I'm doing right this minute. Guys on this channel right now that when I design my diets, I take it for granted that, well, we're going to run the diet for a specific time first, not very long, but enough time. And then I need to see fat loss just from the diet alone. And now when I write your diet, I don't reduce your caloric intake. All right? So whatever condition you're in, and I have chosen specifically people who are more overweight because I think that they're better. I like to work with them better because the result is a bigger bang for the buck. I prefer to do that rather than get somebody in shape for like a show or something. I prefer to do that. Yeah, we do that also, but I prefer to do that because people are much, much more excited about the outcome. It really is life-altering, and I just think it's a more credible project. So that's why I like to do that. But we have one guy, you know, I designed the diets with it in mind that after we have deduced that, yes, dietary thermogenesis is taking place, we have not reduced your calories at all, and in some cases I've even turned them up a little tiny bit, and you are losing body fat. Once we've confirmed that, and we know that with just a diet, then we roll on some cardio, you know, very gradually. Then once you roll that cardio on, you get that exercise-induced thermogenesis on top of the dietary-induced thermogenesis, then all kind of shit starts to happen. and you really start to look drastically different. Now, I have one fellow who, and I've come to know him very well, he actually comes down and trains with us. And I did his diet with it in mind that he would start cardio. Well, now he has a knee injury, and he has had it for some time. It's been a chronic thing, and he's having it looked at in consideration of having surgery and have it repaired. So he cannot do any cardio. So I wanted to alter his diet to account for, his inability to be able to do cardio, so that the progress continues and he continues to lose body fat. He didn't really want to do that because he's very happy with the results, and he continually loses body fat week to week still. So now you got to understand that as he loses the body fat, okay, you would think that now he's lighter, those calories are going to have to eventually come down again, right? If we got to have a caloric deficit eventually. No. In fact, here's the biggest mistake people make when they write to me that are trying to put this kind of diet into place. You've got to assess where you're at first for a few days. Every crumb you eat, and make it a typical 3 days. Write down everything. Do all the math. Figure out your percentages just so you get an idea of the why. Why your body has responded in the appearance it currently has that you're not happy with. And usually you look at it and you go, wow, okay, I see that very easily, very readily. All right, but the main thing you need to know is how many calories you're taking in a day. All right, in those 3 days that you track, you're not going to be, most people, you're not going to have the same caloric intake every day. You're going to be, okay, so take an average of that. If I have one that's super low, I throw it out, and I just average the other two, if they're similar enough. And then, here's the deal breaker. Here's what makes it or doesn't make it. When you go to put your diet together, structured for, with it in mind, you want to induce dietary thermogenesis, caloric intake must remain the same. If you mess with the calories drastically, it won't work. Okay, so if you want to reduce your calories because you think you need that, deficit, guess what? Yeah, you may lose weight. You may screw it all up. You're not gonna induce dietary thermogenesis that way. Anyway, that's it for now. I hope, if nothing else, I've piqued your interest and made you curious enough to go do your research so that you can understand yourself how it works. And it will not disappoint you. It never disappoints. It freaking works. So, welcome to 2017. Take care. Have an awesome day.